What can you do with the torn off old bits of background paper? Well, I made this, which is a triangular tube of background paper. Can you have a triangular tube? There's probably a better name. Let me know in the comments if there is. But what I do know is it's super colourful, fine art, and packs down really small, but best of all, super cheap to make. To help me out today, I've got the amazing Chloe. Chloe's going to be the model for this rather colourful photo session, but before we get to the colour and the lights, I need to establish an exposure that gets rid of all of that, so I've got control of the room. So I'm going to dial in some settings which won't change. My flash sync speed, 250th of a second, which is the native flash sync speed for my camera. F8 for a really good depth of field, we're going to need that. And then ISO 200, the native ISO for my camera, and no flash gives me this, no picture, which means I now have complete control over the lighting in this room. So this is one of the 3 boards I've made with the background paper, and before we get to building this out, I've got to get the light right, and there's going to be 2 or 3 parts to this. We'll see how we go. The first one is going to be light on Chloe. That's obviously the most essential thing to get right. So I've got a Flashpoint Explore 300 Pro Mark II as the key light and a 12 by 36 inch strip box. I'm hoping this might do the background as well, but we'll see how that goes. Let's get the light right first on Chloe. I've already metered this out. Let's see how it looks. And what we get is, yeah, good light on Chloe. There's some direction to this light, so it's not a completely flat lit shot, but there are a couple of things to note. The first one is I am using quite a wide angle lens, and I'm testing with a wide angle lens because I know when I'm going to build this up, that's the focal length I'm likely to be using. But I need to do something with the background because grey doesn't really say colourful, and I've got a yellow background, so I might as well use that. So let's see how this changes simply by putting a new background in the scene. Quick little test photo, here we go. And it is not really yellow, it's more sort of mustardy coloured. It's supposed to be very similar in tone to the board at the front of Chloe, so I need to think of something that's going to fix that. There's a couple of things that I could do. The most obvious probably being a light behind Chloe, beaming onto the background. That would work, but I'm not sure that is the look I want to go for today. I'd like to minimize the amount of lights if I can. So the way to get this background brighter is just to move it closer to Chloe. Now, this is an unnecessarily big background, and I have a little bit of an assistance to move the other side. Thank you, Sam. And we're gonna put it, yeah, something like that. That looks pretty good to me. That means the background is just a tiny bit closer, but it's going to make a big difference to the amount of light because the light that's lighting Chloe can now also light the background. I think once we build the tube up, that's going to look pretty good. But of course, everything is subject to change. I've made 3 of these A1 sized panels, and I've used 2 different colors of background paper. And 3 means I'm going to be making a shape that is, yeah, 3-sided triangle. And that's not such a bad idea because triangles are a very strong shape once they're put together. I'm going to try and line everything up the best I can, and I'm using just a little bit of tape just to hold things temporarily into place. This isn't exactly the most secure of constructions, but all it has to do is survive this one photo session, and luckily Chloe is super helpful at getting it all set up. Okay, that looks okay. I think we'll just center that up on Chloe. Let's just see how this looks if we do nothing at all other than the light we have now. And quick little test photo. Okay, so immediately we can see some good things and some bad things. So now I've built the little triangular shape. It kind of loses a bit of light on Chloe, so I might have to refine that lighting position, but also I've got to light the inside of the tube because it's really dark in there, which isn't surprising when we're using just one single flash. So this is light number 2. This is the Flashpoint Evolve 200 Pro Mark II, but more importantly, it is a vast, huge 42-inch beauty dish. This light has to put light through the tube and give me fairly flat, even lighting. It's going to go directly behind the camera like that, and I'm going to put it on half power. I don't know if that's the right setting or not. There's no real easy way of metering this. I obviously need to get to my camera somehow, so I can probably just sort of squeeze through here like that and maybe make use of the flippy foldy screen. Yeah, there we go, that works. That's brilliant. Okay, quick little test photo. Whoa! Yeah, that has lit the inside of the tube really well. The two lights work fantastically. Out of interest, I'm going to turn this light down. At the moment it's on half power. Let's take it down to 1/4 power and see if that makes a difference. I mean, obviously it will. I think that's probably a little bit more accurate for the colors I want and not so washed out as it was before. The last thing I'm going to do is just figure out which focal length is likely to work well, because you see I'm working on a tripod. That's not going to change. My camera needs to be in the center of this triangle. There's no need to hand hold this, but I can change the scene by changing the focal length. In my mind, this was always a wide angle shot. 12mm on my camera, 24mm equivalent of a full frame camera, which gives this look. But of course I do have a bit of spare space in the studio, so I could back myself up and zoom in a little bit, which turns out to be remarkably challenging when you're not directly behind the camera. Something like that, and fill the frame that way round. I still think I prefer the wide angle picture. So let's move it back in and take a few pictures like this. So Chloe, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Everything in the viewfinder is yellow, so if I let the camera do its own thing with the colours, Chloe's skin would actually go a sort of blue tone. So to make sure that doesn't happen, I've locked in a fixed white balance, 5600K in this case, which is a little warmer than my flashes, but I think it suits the scene. I could always change it later, I'm working in RAW. And speaking of changing things later, I'm definitely going to crop these to a square, and we'll get to that shortly. One thing I've learned over the years is always listen to the people around you. So when Sam suggested, let's try a fisheye. Yeah, great idea. It looked fantastic. And then Chloe saying, well, these could work well with more of a dynamic pose. Yeah, go for it. And the end results speak for themselves. Straight out of camera, these images look pretty good, but there is a bit of fine tuning to be done in Photoshop. And the first thing is, I'm going to take the crop to a 1:1 square format, because I think that fits these images quite well. And then I'm going to tidy them up using the remove tool. I'm going to change the overlay color to blue so I can actually see it. And to be honest, I could have saved myself a bit of time by sticking the bits of paper on a little bit better, but never mind. The remove tool, you simply have to draw over the areas you want to fix, and well, it's just magic, really. Now, there's nothing wrong with Chloe's hands, but against the warm yellow, they do look slightly magenta. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow color over the top on a separate layer, use the color blending mode on a very low opacity, just to increase the warmth on them. And then all it needs is a levels adjustment layer just to boost the brightness, and there you go, that's the picture completed. So this came out way better than I thought it was going to, and considering this is just a bunch of old used background paper, the end results are fantastic. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, go down to the comments, give it a thumbs up. Down there you'll find the gear links to all of the equipment we've used. They'll take you back to Adorama. And of course, if you haven't already done so, click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.